I know what you're thinking. Two things, right? One, Scotty, I thought you weren't going to do any reviews on your vacation. True, true. But something's come up. I got a few things I need to do. This one came out of nowhere. Let me explain this one. Because that's question number 2. Didn't you already do this one? I did. Let me explain why I'm doing this again. The last exorcism. Okay, so I am planning on something for October. Alright, let me sit down. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'm not going to be a big announcement. I might do a big announcement video. Who knows? But in October, I'm going to do Pick 10 Horror 4. Not just anything, though. I'm going to start doing subtitles for each one. I don't know how well it's going to go. But the last one was The Reckoning, even though I had no real meaning to the whole thing. But this one does. Pick 10 Horror 4 Sequelathon. You know, back earlier this year, I did a sequelathon, like May, something like that. I did a sequelathon. Mostly regular sequels, action, comics, stuff like that. But I was kind of leaning towards doing horror in October, but I did some horror sequels back during sequelathon, so I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not going to do it. But then I started looking up movies to do for the Pick 10 Horror, and I'm like, am I going to do? I'm like, what sequels? I was trying to do sequels. And one of them that popped up in my head when I was looking through the movies that I need to do sequels to, The Last Exorcism Part 2. I'm like, there's a sequel to that, right? So I looked it up, and I'm like, I don't remember anything from... Did I do the first one? I did do the first one back in January of this year, and I didn't remember anything. I started reading the synopsis and stuff. I'm like, oh, I kind of remember. Let me rewatch the movie again, because I don't think my last review was very fair. I didn't pay attention much, and what I did pay attention to, I didn't care for. So, haven't rewatched this. Sat down, watched it. Let me tell you, it went up. It went up in the score. I like this better than I did the first time. Mostly because I paid attention to it. Now, it's not a great movie. I think it's decent at most. I think it has a pretty decent going through the film until the ending. I think it derails at the end. Because there's all this questioning of his faith, of Cotton's faith, and what he can believe in, and all this. And he finds his faith, sort of. Towards the end, and then, something happens. I'll get to it. And then the end happens, and it just kind of takes a 360, or 180, excuse me. But yeah, so the movie is about Reverend Cotton Marcus, who is a reverend, of course. He believed in God. He still believes God is there, but he believed in God and all that stuff, but then his son was born with illnesses, which caused him to, push away God and his belief and all that stuff. And so now he's more of he believes in medicine and all that stuff. And so more or less his congregations and everything, it's just he's putting on a show. He even has like magic cards, like a magic show and stuff like that. He puts on a show for people. Even when he does exorcisms, he goes out of his way to disprove exorcisms. He thinks that they're just people who have a disorder or mental issues, stuff like that. And so he goes into these half-assed, basically, where he does no faith, he does not believe, and he's doing these, things, saying the word, but he doesn't believe in what he's saying, and he just believes it's all in the victim's head, in the person's head. It's all, a mental issue, stuff like that. Then they get called to this farm by Lewis. His daughter, their cattle and stuff are dying, and he believes that his daughter is possessed. So Cotton begins his cockamamie thing. This is a found footage film, by the way, and he has two filmmakers following him with cameras that we follow throughout the film. Let me say this. The one thing that does, watching this again, I noticed, I'm like, the found footage is too clean. I mean, like, found footage should be a little bit grainy, a little bit shaky. Towards the end, it does. And maybe that's to its detriment, that it looks crisp and clean at the end. You just go into that traditional form. Maybe that adds to it, you know. You're going at a decent pace. You have this story about faith and believing in God and all that stuff. And then when it derails, it becomes a standard found footage film. And I guess you could see that way. Maybe it was on purpose. I don't know. But he goes in and he does this. He talks to her and everything. And he firmly believes it's just a mental issue. He does his exorcism. Of course, he's just going through the motions. He doesn't believe what he's doing. And, you know, he says, oh, she is cured. Even though she hasn't done anything, he says she's cured. They go to their hotel room. And then Nell, that's the girl's name, she shows up at the hotel and she's acting weird. And so they take her to the hospital because she's like puking and stuff. They take her to the hospital, they get her checked on. And they later find out she's pregnant. Now, it's problematic how far along she is, because by the end of the film, she delivers, and she wasn't that pregnant by the end of this film. So I don't know, but depending on what kind of pregnancy it is, we'll get to it. But yeah, so Cotton starts, you know, questioning. He thinks it's incest. He thinks the dad raped her or something. Even though he keeps saying that he didn't. And then there's this boy in town that she says is the father, but he's not the father. They only talked once at the pastor's party. He's gay. So, no, it's not him. So my question is, does she know what's inside her and she's just saying it was the boy to cover? Or is she, like, hypnotized into believing it was the boy? I don't know. But this whole time, you know, Cotton's trying to get in contact with the pastor to kind of talk to him. The pastor has told him that he hasn't seen, you know, been around Nell for a while, but yet the boy confirms it was just a couple months ago that they were around each other, so something's not right here. Could he be a little bit, you know, crooked? Who knows? But, yeah, and at certain points you get that, oh, I think we should go, I think we should just drop this, I think we should get out of here, we should call the cops, logic stuff. And of course, let's not do that. Let's do this ourselves. And eventually, he decides, he starts to, for most of the film, he's not believing in all this stuff. But then, towards the end of the film, he's like, maybe, because what's good about this movie is there's like a contrast. Cotton very much doesn't believe in God, or he doesn't have that belief, but he believes in medicine. Whereas the dad, Lewis, doesn't believe in medicine because of his wife's death. He doesn't believe in medicine. So he believes in God, which you think that, praying to God for his wife to get better would also hold problems if she still died. I don't know. But, so, there's that contrast there between the two of them. And, so this whole journey for Cotton is that by this point now, he's begun to start to pray again and start to, put his belief in God again, which is sort of similar to the journey of Father Karras in The Exorcist. Although I think it's played better in The Exorcist, but, I said this in my other review, but the found footage genre, I've been a fan of it, but maybe it's kind of the long in the tooth. I think it's a little bit donezo, but it's by 2010. Even some movies, can work with the found footage genre, but I don't know. This is okay. Now rewatching this is okay. It's not as bad as I remember it being. Now I pay attention, but oh boy, up to this point, so he does another exorcism, and during the exorcism, though, she says, "You want a blowing job," which once again convinces him because he's had this whole thing where he believes it's all fake. So now hearing that, he goes, "No, no, a demon would know how to say it." So he's like, he thinks it's a mental issue again, but he still sort of has his faith. So he's done. He finishes whatever, and they leave. They bring in the pastor, tell him, it's up to you now, whatever. But then they come back, like that night or something, and there's all these weird markings on the walls and everything. And then they notice this cult, this fire, and they got Nell up, and she's giving birth. Now, I get it's a demonic birth, but she wasn't that far along. Like, I get, like, I've seen movies where it's like a demonic birth, and it's like Devil's Due. You see Devil's Due? I think that's another decent horror film, found footage film I should do, but that is like rapidly pregnant. Her belly doesn't get any bigger. She's just normal looking, and then gives birth. By the way, the actress Ashley Bell, fantastic. Although at some point she does look like Tom Holland, Spider-Man, Tom Holland with long hair. It's very uncanny, very weird. Like, did they bring Spider-Man in for these scenes? He wasn't even a thing yet. Tom Holland. So I don't know. But she looks a lot at some points. Could be his twin sister. I don't know. But the scenes where Cotton's doing the exorcism, and she's like bending back and stuff, she can actually contort her body. So that's really cool. She's actually doing that. It's not CGI. It's not any special effect. She's actually doing that. So that's really cool. And kind of owie, That's really cool. But let's get to this ending. Up to this point, we made, it's all about belief. And he put his faith in God, but he believes it's been proven that it was a hoax the entire time. It's just a mental illness. And then, boom, this is thrown in your face. And we get, honestly, a very confusing ending. A very tacked on studio ending. Because everybody seems to think that, found footage movies have to end with everyone dying. Even though there are found footage movies that don't do that. Like The Visit. Those two main characters, they didn't die in that. Well, they were kids, but still. Not every found footage film needs to end with the main characters dying. Even though the whole point of found footage is they found it. I think Marble Hornets did a good work around with that, where they kept finding and showing the footage, and then there was one survivor by the end who kept uploading these, and he survived. So that worked. Well, that isn't another confusing ending, but here he sees, take the child out, throw it in the fire, which starts this weird growling, ethereal sounds. Fire gets higher and higher, and so he comes out, and this is like foreshadowed in the pictures that she paints. So he comes out there, his faith is restored, he's got the cross, and he's like shouting at this thing. And that's the last we see of Cotton. And as far as I've looked, I didn't see he was in the second one. So I wonder how they'll explain it. Did he die? I don't know. But, so the two camera people just start to run for it. The girl is killed. Well, it's very weird. Like, the guy is just standing there filming while his friend and partner is getting killed by someone else. And then he gets throat slit by Caleb, who's actor Caleb Landry Jones, or if you know him from X-Men First Class, he should have been in the sequels. And Get Out. But he's the brother, and he slits the guy's throat, and in the film, the camera drops. But it's like, wait, he was in on it? For how long? Like, how how long. Like, you can tell maybe because at the beginning he's very, like, you notice they have cameras. He gets pissed off and then he tells us that, hey, they have cameras. Dad's like, you need to turn it off. And then he talks to him about it. But it's like, I don't know, very weird. And the dad wasn't in on it because he was all bound and gagged. And I'm assuming he died. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. And like I said, we don't know what happened to Cotton because, I don't know, maybe in a sequel they explain it. I don't know. But also, I didn't catch how old Nell is supposed to be here. A teenager, I think. But how old, I do not know. It's very confusing. But this watch did open it up a little bit for me. I did like it, this watch better than last time. So it's going to go up to middle of the road. That's right. It's now middle of the road. It's not as bad as it was last time. I don't know. I wasn't into it last time. Didn't really pay much attention. Kind of went through the motions myself. But telling myself, you're going to pay attention so you can be ready for it into the sequel. There you go. We got it. So, yeah. Am I looking forward to the sequel? I have not heard good things about it. I've heard it's worse. They were actually planning a third one, but after that one tanked, they're like, nah. Although they probably should just do it. Like, a lot of things would be more complete if they stopped caring about how much money they make and just put them out to put them out. Like, that way we'd have more Zack Snyder DC movies. We'd have a Amazing Spider-Man universe. We'd have Spider-Man 4. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4. We'd have other movies. Maybe a Batman Triumphant if they just stopped saying, hey, we needed to make this amount much money in order to do a sequel. Oh, it didn't make that. Nope. Just say, hey, it didn't make back what we wanted, but let's just see if the next one can do better. That's what they should say. There's been a lot of movies, like, I kind of wanted to see where they were going to go with Terminator Genesis, or even Terminator Salvation, but, it didn't make enough money, so we gotta restart this whole thing again, but, I don't know, and I haven't seen the second one, so I can't even tell you if I wanted to see another one. We'll have to wait to see. I am curious, because according to Wikipedia, the next one's not found footage. Because it says it's an American found footage horror film. That one just says horror film. So I don't know, but yeah. So what are your thoughts on the last Exorcism? In my comments below, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.